And we know how the CIA likes to spike drinks with hallucinogenic drugs. There's even reports of the CIA spraying aerosol in like rooms full of people at parties to get them to trip out of their mind and go into like a psychosis, because whenever you're unknowingly dosed with some form of hallucinogenic, you're going to inevitably go out of your mind because you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's happening. Like, why am I experiencing this?
Welcome back to the I Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on researcher, documentarian, and podcaster Ryder Lee, who's created such documentaries as JFK X, solving the crime of the century, Pancakes, a Clockwork Shining, Stanley Kubrick's Odyssey 3, and he's incredible. I've seen and watched him on Tinfoil Hat. We're going to have a lot of fun. If you keep finding yourself coming back to the I Jupiter podcast, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. Go and follow me over on Rumble, and you can download me from any one of your MP3 apps for your listening pleasure. You can also decide to become a member on YouTube and get some things earlier. So with all that out of the way, please welcome to the I Jupiter podcast, Mr. Ryder Lee.
What's going on, Tom? Thanks for having me on, brother. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for accepting my offer. First off, I want to say you have one of the coolest names out there, and I think your parents deserve a high five from everybody. Ryder Lee, you could either be like somebody from the future or a cowboy from the 1800s. I just love your name, dude.
Yeah, my mom, it was between two different names, and yeah, so really appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be a fun chat, and got a lot to talk about, a lot going on.
Absolutely, man. Please do me a favor, like people who don't know you, which I think they should by now, because I mean, I ran into you on Tinfoil Hat, and I think you were doing Obama stuff or something like that, and I was just like blown away by your research. You go deep, and I really enjoy it. I've been looking for somebody who does this type of work, who's got this kind of passion about what they do, and you were the first person that popped into my head, honestly. And so please tell everybody a little bit about yourself, dude, and like where they can find you in your documentaries.
Yes, sir. I'm a researcher. I've been a big cinephile. I've loved movies. Of course, I love Stanley Kubrick's work. That's the latest documentary is A Clockwork Shining on Stanley Kubrick. And I believe that we bring new revelations to the Stanley Kubrick and his films, Clockwork Orange and The Shining, obviously. There's been so much stuff that's been done about The Shining, but I believe that A Clockwork Shining really... It's the best, in my opinion, my humble opinion, of course, because I'm the one that made the film.
Fair enough.
Talking about your own stuff and how great you think that it is, but it was really a passion project for me. It took a lot of energy and effort to put everything together and edit it and get it out on Amazon Prime, and it's now on Tubi as well, so you can just watch it on Tubi. But a lot of this stuff just, came from early childhood and just really being passionate about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to, pursue what I wanted to do. And, here we are, and I have a podcast on YouTube called Raised by Giants, and you can also get it on any and all podcast platforms. And also my first documentary, JFK X, Solving the Crime of the Century, is available on Amazon Prime and also on Tubi. So there you go. Watch those. That helps support, independent filmmakers. Hollywood is like wrecked and ruined right now. I don't think it's ever really going to return. So this is really the future. The future of filmmaking is independent filmmaking. People that can make.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing that they're falling apart. That they leaned so far and went so crazy that the rejection just finally kind of sunk in with people, and they were just like, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. You're supposed to be an actor. Stop telling us about your feelings, about what's going on in the world, and just do what it is that you're really good at, that we enjoyed and fell in love with in the first place. And people like yourself, as many other documentarians and filmmakers, I can't think of the guy. There's another guy I'll think of his name in a while. He's also makes really good I can't think of his name. It'll come to me in a minute. But I asked you said we can go into anything, and I would love to talk to you about what your findings are on things like MK Ultra and Laurel Canyon and things of that nature. Since we're kind of over there in the Hollywood area, I think that falls in pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. What really got me down this rabbit hole and gave me the conclusion of what The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, is really about was studying the MK Ultra documents. Now, there's 149 sub-projects of MK Ultra. There's reported to be several more, but they were all bulk of them were destroyed. And I'm reading through a lot of these documents. I'm going over them. What's going on here? What are they doing? They're opening up entire hospital wings to perform these types of MK Ultra programs on people. They're also trying to unlock like psychic abilities within people, because we know the psychic abilities comes from trauma. So traumatic events unlock these types of abilities within them. And then I was like, okay, well, how far does this go? Is the MK Ultra programs connected to like remote viewing psychic spy programs? Because we know that the Army Intelligence and the DIA had these psychic spy programs where they were remote viewing to get access to foreign intelligence data, right? That's what they say that it's for. I mean, and that's directly from all of the Stargate documents. So then I was like, okay, well, this MK Ultra stuff has to be connected, because there's 5 MK Ultra sub-projects that were completely dedicated to the research of psychic phenomena. So then I started looking into the Stargate, the remote viewing unit at Fort Meade, and then I got a lot of those people on my show. A lot of the people that were 100% verified involved in the government remote viewing psychic spy program. Now, it went under many different names. It went under Sunstreak, Grill Flame. Center Lane was one of the first research projects that was done by SRI. It's had many name changes, just like I believe that MK Ultra also had many name changes throughout its.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually from the Fort Meade area, and that's no surprise to me. That place it's very strange. It's a very strange place. I mean, the main building is right there on 32, and I think, what is it, 295? And I actually built a fence around a supercomputer back in the 90s when I was a young man. And this I've actually spoke. Do you know this by any chance? He's a member of the 20 and back. He's had all these experiences like Super Soldier, and how they, with the alters and the separation of, the mind and splitting it off. And he's been on my show many times. And so like a lot of these things that you're saying right now is actually no surprise to me, honestly.
Yeah, I don't mean to bust your bubble, but I think a lot of that super space program stuff is all nonsense garbage. It's
okay.
It's made up fairy tales. I mean, that's what it is to me. And they've ripped off a lot of real things in order to fit their narrative into it and create their fantasy. I 100% believe it's a complete and utter fantasy, and that's not talking about anybody else. That's just what I believe. I believe it's all made up nonsense garbage.
No, we're here for the truth, man, and it doesn't matter. That's what it is. I think everyone should have the platform to go ahead and speak whatever it is that it's either happened to him or not, and you can have your opinion. That's the great thing about being an American and free speech. I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah, it's just none of it makes any sense. They have absolutely zero proof for any other stuff. The whole Montauk thing is a completely made up thing. all has to do with Preston Nichols, and that's what they all keep referring back to. It's which Preston Nichols just ripped off a bunch of movies that was based on. Oh, it's just an amalgamation of like people ripping off other people and then feeding it into their story, and then it's just a bunch of nonsense, in my opinion. But
Okay.
it's not really what we're here to discuss. But I just had to make that clear that I don't believe any of that garbage. Now, when it comes to remote viewing, because see, none of the people that's actually what got me really interested in the Stargate program, because I was interested in what these secret space program people were talking about. Okay. Now they all claim to be a part of some sort of MK Ultra program and that they were put in there as a kid. And then many of them all claim to be a part of some remote viewing like Stargate program. They all claim like Stargate program. Well, that's an impossibility. There was only 20 people that was ever involved in the Stargate program.
Wow.
That's all. That's all the people that were ever involved was 20 people. So, and no children were ever involved either. So I don't know where they get this. I actually have a photo here somewhere of all the people that were verified in the Stargate program. Actually, yeah, here it is. Okay, so let's bring it up here real quick. Because this is what actually got me going into a lot of this stuff, because I wanted to disprove their entire story. So these are the 20 people that were in the remote viewing Stargate program. So if your name is not on this list, you were never in the program.
Okay. All right. That's
You got Trent, you got Ken Bell, you got Joe McMonagle, you got Paul H. Smith, which Paul H. Smith has been on my show before twice. Mel Riley, Lynn Buchanan. Lynn Buchanan has been on my show like 4 times. He is actually the person that influenced the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. Have you seen that movie before? The Men Who Stare at Goats. It's all about like government remote viewing. They make it
okay. Yes,
a comedy.
I've
You got Charlene Kavanaugh, Rob Crawford.
yes, I've heard of it. I've heard of
David Morehouse, which has been on my show several times. Greg S. F. Holmes Atwater, Linda A. Jim Lessman, Tom M. Fern Gavin, Angela D., which Angela has been on my show several times. Gabriel Pattengell, Ed Dames, and Bill Ray. So if you're not one of those people, and half those people are have passed away. Okay, so if your name's not on that list, you were never involved in any government remote viewing program.
Okay. All right.
So, and there's so much evidence that is just all completely made up. I mean, Corey Good he admitted in the court deposition that it was all that he made everything up.
Corey Good. That name has crossed my purview. That's very interesting. I actually have to look into that a little bit more now. Okay.
There's deposition videos of him in court saying that and that's who everyone then ripped off to create their story. So if they're ripping off somebody that made up something and made up all their stuff, he was big at Gaia, then if they ripped off someone that was making everything up, then their story is also made up.
Right. Okay, so like, how do we get into this? Like, what is Laurel Canyon and all these and MK Ultra? What does all this have to? What's the connection? What is going on exactly? What have you found?
Well, the connection is that when you look at a lot of the big name musicians like the Monkees, I mean, even with modern people like Blink 182, Mark Hoppus from Blink 182, which just recently came out and said that he possibly helped them find Osama bin Laden. But the reason how he did that is because, Saddam Hussein. The reason that he knew how to do that was because his dad was a high-ranking military officer. So here's the article from Loudwire. Blink 182's Mark Hoppus actually might have helped the military capture Saddam Hussein. in Mark Hoppus's new book, Fahrenheit 182, a memoir, the rocker shared a story about how he may have actually assisted the capture of Saddam Hussein back in 2003. Hoppus touched upon a situation on social media before, but in the book, he went into detail about the plan he came up to capture the most wanted individuals in recent American history. Sir, I have a plan for how to catch Saddam Hussein, the musician recalled by telling Navy Admiral on board the aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf. According to Hoppus, Hussein had been sending video messages to his followers from an unknown location at the time. The musician felt that the military could use drones to their advantage to uncover his location by pulling data from the video messages. So essentially what he talked to this Navy general to do was fly a bunch of drones over the area where Saddam Hussein is sending his videos to his followers, and then we can triangulate the position based on how the micro data from the video that's being taken, how far away the drones are, so that we can pinpoint his location. But the only reason he knew how to do any of that is because his dad is a high-ranking military general.
Okay.
And we go back through the history of where a lot of these big bands and where these people come from, they have family members. Their dad or someone in their immediate family is a part of a high-ranking, they have a high-ranking military personnel. I mean, Bob Marley's dad was a high-ranking naval admiral. Okay, Jim Morrison's dad was responsible for the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
No way.
Admiral.
That's crazy. That one blows me away. I didn't know that at all.
Sharon Tate's dad was a high-ranking military admiral. Okay, like all of these people, there's really not any instance where there's like a really popular big band. Like, and we know that the Beatles was essentially came from the Tavistock Institute, which is a completely run CIA operation, and they probably didn't even play any of their instruments really. Okay, so, and many people have said that they were horrible in the studio. So they brought people in to actually record the instruments for them, and then they would go out and fake the performances. Yeah, I mean that's like the whole thing. They weren't even really like good musicians. So the music industry has been propped up by the intelligence community almost since its inception. And Elvis Presley was working for the FBI as an undercover FBI agent to try and take down some of the people in the mob. Okay, so all of these big name musician people all have ties to some sort of intelligence community or the military, which then makes sense in Jim Morrison's case, because Jim Morrison was, perceived to be very unruly. He would kind of do whatever he wanted. Anytime that he would get into trouble, he would always be let out of prison. And then when you look at, Charles Manson as well, Charles Manson was getting into trouble all throughout his childhood. He was put into facilities, but then he was just let out. And there's many, instances that people have uncovered through their research that Charles Manson was working directly for the CIA. The CIA was supplying him the LSD to basically, like, MK Ultra mind control his followers to do the murders. Okay, so when you track back all this stuff, and then when you look at like Laurel Canyon and what was going on there, I mean, like the Laurel Canyon Lookout Mountain Air Force Base is right above LA, where thousands and thousands of movies and films were being made. That's where the miniature sets of the nuclear explosions were filmed at. Remember those old videos where the nuclear explosions would come down and explode, and people thought actually
which are fake. Yeah. Sorry,
they're fake.
Yeah, well, how is the camera not moving? I mean, just use your brain, man. It makes no sense. And so they're like, so it's like a military base, like close to the LA area, above like the Hollywood Bowl and that whole area right there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes away from LA. Was a top secret military base. Now the base now is owned by Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars. Okay,
the singer from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, Jared Leto. Yes.
Oh my God.
So
and
that is where all this stuff was filmed. That's where the nuclear bomb testing stuff was filmed. That was all done on miniature sets. It wasn't real. I mean, you just mentioned that it doesn't. How does the camera not explode? Everything else gets taken out, but the camera just stays there. And there's a bunch of footage of a car appearing and reappearing. That was shown on
right.
but that all this stuff is in our documentary, The Clockwork Shining, on Amazon Prime and on Tubi now. Yeah, you can get a really detailed investigation into it. But yeah, dude, like Lookout Mountain, we don't know what was going on there. We don't know exactly what was filmed there. Several people had high-ranking clearance for the place. Marilyn Monroe, Cary Grant, James Stewart, Ronald Reagan had top secret security clearance. All these big-time famous actors had top secret security
And this
clearance.
is before he was president.
Yes.
Oh wow, man. So what do you think the purpose is all this to change the narrative or to steer us in a certain direction?
Well, I mean, if you have Hollywood right down there that's making all of these films, like, would you not want to be able to duplicate and do exactly what's Hollywood is doing, but do it for like 100% like propaganda means?
Right, absolutely. Then
I
you have
mean,
the thing where
if Hollywood can fake because we know the Hollywood is like, they're all actors, they're all like, real people supposedly, but they're using movie magic, they're using graphics, they're using CGI, they're making it look like it's real life. Okay, well, what if you could create an event, have it filmed, put it out like it's real, but then it not be real? It's a
right.
completely 100% fabricated event, but the footage is there, and you think that the footage is real because they've posted it everywhere, they've put it everywhere, but it was really filmed on a set in some military base.
Yeah, they also do that thing where they'll make a movie about something, and we're just like, oh wow, it's just fantasy, and then you come and turn around a couple years later or years later sometimes, or even shortly thereafter, the actual thing really happens, like what happened in Ohio with the train. Like that was on a movie, and I think it's called, I can't think of the word, there's a term for it, but that's very, very, very interesting. And I with all the things that have that's come out recently, where people started to open their eyes, whether it be COVID, whether it be what happened in Vegas and alike, I think people are starting to wake up and see a lot of this for what it is. And it's kind of scary if they're, you know what I mean, when your worldview was a certain way and now it's like people don't have a footing or a ground to stand on anymore. But I think the footing and the ground to stand on is actually knowing the truth.
Yeah, and that's the whole. Yeah, that's what they've been doing for a really long time. I mean, it's to obfuscate the truth. I think the term that you were thinking of was like predictive programming, but
Right.
There's other like ways to do that as well. It's sometimes like art mimics reality, and sometimes reality mimics art. So sometimes it's not even something that is put there that's going to happen later. Sometimes it's like the opposite way around, like with Stanley Kubrick and the things that he would do. As he was shooting the movie Lolita with Sue Lyon, which is the subject matter within Lolita is awful. It's about sexual abuse of like a younger girl, right? And while that movie is being shot, the actress that is portraying what she's going through in the movie is actually happening to her in real life through Kubrick's producer, James Harris. So the things that she's acting about within the movie are the same things that is actually happening to her in real life on the set by James Harris in the Kubrick movie. It's insane.
Oh,
And then you have like A Clockwork Orange as well, where that movie came out and then it had to be pulled from a bunch of different countries because then it was like inspiring people to go out and commit crimes. So there's like the Clockwork Murderers and all these news reports of like crime like skyrocketing after the movie came out, and they're blaming Stanley Kubrick's movie A Clockwork Orange. And then when you look at, like The Shining and the way that, Stanley Kubrick, which we believe that me and Jay Widener, we believe that the Shining is really about Stanley Kubrick telling us about MK Ultra and
Okay.
controlling Jack to kill his family. Okay. So, but when you look at The Shining and the way that he treated Shelley Duvall within The Shining is what somebody would go through if they were being mind controlled. So Kubrick is not only making a movie about mind control, but he's also mind controlling the actors within the movie, and then it's a mind control on the audience that's watching it. So it's like a 3-level inception.
So that's incredible, man. Okay, first of all, I mean, I love The Shining. It's one of my favorite, horror, whatever kind of movie that is. That in the original Exorcist, it's incredible because when you watch it, when he's throwing the axe through the door, or when she's like, so you're saying that she was actually experiencing it at the same time she's like acting it, and so it's incredible. Okay, the movie that always throws me off was Eyes Wide Shut. That is like, I guess that's some type of hidden like cult themed thing that he was trying to do, and there was also some weird child stuff in that movie too.
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut is a really interesting film. It's shot for a really long time. They had to hold Tom Cruise over for that, but it's reported that like Stanley Kubrick would do like these. He would also do the like humiliation rituals as well. Like reportedly, he had Tom Cruise in a dress. Okay, during some of the shooting of like Eyes Wide Shut, which we know a lot about the dress symbolism and like having your kids, dress up as like the other gender, or having really popular actors come on and making them wear a dress or like kiss a man. Cat Williams has talked about that several times.
Dave Chappelle has as well. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's really interesting if that's true. If he had Tom Cruise in a dress, and apparently it's been reported, can't say it's factual, but it's been reported that he had Tom Cruise in a dress and come out onto the set, and like everyone would just like scold him and like roast him. So like that's like an MK Ultra mind control technique as well. Like, you bring somebody out, you insult them, you scold it, just like what he was doing to Shelley Duvall in The Shining. He literally told the cast and the production crew of that movie to not listen to her, don't tend to her needs, don't even talk to her, don't even look at her.
Wow.
Okay? So she is feeling traumatized while she's portraying the character, while she's being traumatized in the movie, and then the movie is about traumatization. It's just like this like triple inception of the geniusness of like Stanley Kubrick, and then you get into like, okay, well, what is actually going on in this movie? Within the first 10 minutes of the movie, it literally reveals the entire plot of the movie, which Allman in The Shining resembles JFK. He almost looks identical to JFK in the movie The Shining, and he pretty much gives the entire plot away to Jack within the first 10 minutes of the movie. He tells him exactly what's going to happen without telling him exactly what's going to happen, okay? Which is really odd. It's really strange to give away your entire plot of your movie within the first 10 minutes.
This is the interview that he was sitting down before he took the job. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it basically lays out the entire thing right there to Jack, and then Stuart Allman's assistant Bill is sitting there, and he resembles what Sidney Gottlieb. He even resembles him in the way that he looks. He looks like Sidney Gottlieb, which Sidney Gottlieb is the head of the MK Ultra programs. He was in charge of like all of it. And Bill Watson, he doesn't hardly say anything. He's like an observer. So that gives you like the impression that Bill Watson is the one that's really in control. So they're giving you the perception that it's Allman that's in charge of the hotel, when it's really somebody that's behind Allman that's actually making all the decisions and running this experiment that's going on up there. And we know how the CIA likes to spike drinks with hallucinogenic drugs. There's even reports of the CIA spraying aerosol in like rooms full of people at parties to get them to trip out of their mind and go into like a psychosis, because whenever you're unknowingly dosed with some form of hallucinogenic, you're going to inevitably go out of your mind because you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's happening. Like, why am I experiencing this?
That's insane.
And so whenever you look at the how The Shining plays out, you understand that there's something even deeper that's going on within this movie other than what's on the surface level. Now, people have done this movie to death. There's several and hundreds of theories on this movie, but our theory makes the most sense. And whenever you look at like Jack is just writing the same thing over and over and over again. It's one of the most famous scenes of the entire movie, right? Whenever, Jack is all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, over and over and over again. And then Wendy comes in and finds out that he's not really writing a novel. He's just writing the same sentence over and over again. Okay. That's a MK Ultra technique known as psychic driving. That's what Ewan Cameron was doing in Canada. He's one of the first people that ran an MK Ultra program in Canada. Ewan Cameron, that developed this technique called psychic driving. So they would essentially break down the individual, use this, use trauma to, erase. It was called depatterning. So they would depattern them through trauma, through whatever techniques that they were using to induce that. Sometimes electric shock, sometimes hydro, super hot baths or whatever. And sometimes it can be just as simple as like no contact, like isolation. Like that's a huge Kubrick CIA counterintelligence. There's a whole book written on, just seclusion of people. That's a form of torture, right?
Right.
Or forcing them just to keep their arms like up on a wall or whatever for an extended period of time. And if they bring them down off of the wall, they come in and beat the shit out of them. There's many techniques that can be done that doesn't require torture in the way that we think of torture, right? We think of torture as in like you're getting death,
waterboarding, yeah. Uh-huh.
But it doesn't have to be that. It can be something very freaking simple. It can just be as like isolation, like you're put into a 3x4 room that you have to stand up in for days at a time. Okay, it can be as simple as that, and that would just eventually drive you crazy. So then he would come in and do this psychic driving thing. Once they had been depatterning, he would come in and do a psychic driving, which is a repeated phrase over and over and over again to reprogram the mind. And so,
is this easier on children, or is it easier on adults, or does this works like throughout with everybody?
I would work with anybody. I mean, as long as they are 100% traumatized, like as long as they've been essentially depatterned, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Okay.
You can be.
Yeah, I remember in the military they would do things like that. I'm sorry. I remember I'm in the military. They would say, okay, they put us in formation and say, okay, start tapping your toe. Just start tapping your toe. And you do it for an hour until you just wish you would do anything else but tapping your toes. So that hit something with me, within me, that what I mean, because they do the same thing. They kind of like break you down and then put you in the mindset that they want, so that you obey orders and do what you're told. And it's very interesting. I think that they would definitely use that to some ends to do something that they want. It's kind of like the Manchurian candidate concept, where like they could just take you, put you through something like that, and then it could just make you do things that are against you. Even maybe what happened with this this failed Trump assassination that happened. That guy, they don't know what that was. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he had all these phones and no one knows anything about him. Like, well, how do you get that with things like this? It's incredible how conditioned the mind can be when somebody wants to control it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of interesting things about the Trump attempted assassination. There wasn't a press conference that happened after it. I don't even know why would you not have a press conference after someone just attempted to shoot the running president of the United States? It makes absolutely no sense at all. It's and I don't know if we'll ever really know, because it's kind of been brushed under the rug. People, and that's another problem with the community, right? They pretend like they know because it gets them clicks and it gets them viewership, right? So the conspiracy is that it wasn't real, that it was fake, right?
Okay.
That this was a fake thing, that Trump cut his ear with a freaking razor blade because he's in the WWE and friends with Vince McMahon, and then he got up and put ketchup on his ear, and then the whole thing was fake.
I haven't heard that one yet.
That's the type of scenarios and situations that we're dealing with. Even if something is 100% real, there's always going to be this section of the population that does not believe that it is real, because we've created this conspiracy culture. This, I'm not going to trust anyone or anything, no matter what it is. There's always going to be that section of the population because there's been so much distrust that's been sown within the United States population. And
I think
Obama,
purposely to make that happen, like 1984 type stuff. You know what I mean? That's like Orwellian nightmare where you can't, where there's so many things thrown at you that you have to shovel through so much stuff that you just kind of throw your hands up and go, I just don't know. I want to go to Burger King. I get it, dude. I get it.
and that has been the goal from the very beginning. That is obfuscation, right? You can obfuscate the entire thing and lump real concerns and people that have gone through real things in with a bunch of wacky people. Then it's like gone. It's like it doesn't even exist. And that is the whole goal with, and not to bring this back to the secret space program stuff, but that is an obfuscation of people that have really been through a real program so that they cannot do anything about it, because it's been lumped in with 20 and back, time travel, Harry Ferry, Mars, fighting aliens for 20 years, and then being regressed back to so anybody that had, and it's a conspiracy burrito. That's what I call it, right? It's got all of the elements of everything that you've ever heard, all wrapped up into an amazing 7-layer dip freaking burrito, so that anybody that has any real concerns, that has been through anything real, they get lumped in with all of these other nonsense garbage people. Okay. Right. And that makes it to where there's nothing that can be done about that thing. Okay. So if someone like Kathy O'Brien that went through a real MK Ultra program and was trafficked at a White House Pentagon level, that has proof of being trafficked at a White House Pentagon level, and her entire testimony was shrouded under the National Security Act in 1995. Okay, that it prevents anybody else from being able to come forward about their experiences going through any kind of real governmental program, because
which is the game. Which is the game. It's what it is. Obscurity, like you were saying, being that word. It's been a long day. It's 103 degrees down here, and I've been working in the hot sun on cattle ranches putting in solar panels, dude. So I'm a little fried, dyed, and thrown to the side. But
where you at in Arizona? You in Texas or Arizona?
No, I'm in Mexico, man. I'm down here on the I'm in Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. I was this is why I am who I am. I was living in Germany 20 years. I'm a former U.S. Army soldier. My ex-wife, we moved over here because I didn't want to take the jab. And so we lived down here, bought land. They said if they ever want to lock us up again, they can't, because I'm out here in the middle of the jungle. If things go to shit, then I got a little pew, and I can go and take care of myself, and I can grow my own food and all that. So yeah, I'm in the thick of it, dude.
Hell yeah, dude, that's badass. Good on you, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Good on you for doing it.
Yeah. I had to, man. Like I said, I'll be in Europe. I'll be working night shifts. And I would listen to Sam, because I love Sam. He's great. And he's a comic. I'm a stand-up comic myself. And it's just that natural connection. And then he's like, he would go on Rogan and talking to him and Eddie Bravo. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And then I just one day, I was always kind of there. I mean, 9/11, I was in the military. I was actually in Fort Irwin, California when this happened. And I was like, what is this? And I've seen some stuff today that, someone may have, deleted 2 terabytes of information. I've heard a lot of things. And I just started listening to you guys. And then one day you came on, and I think it was about Obama. And you just kind of went through and broke it all down that he was like, like a Manchurian candidate and he's not real and this, that, and the other. And I was just like, okay, this guy, you know what I mean? And I love the episode. And that's, why I kind of reached out to you. And once again, you're blowing my mind. And yeah, dude, this is fantastic, man. So yeah, so let's move on. Like, okay, so Stanley Kubrick, MK Ultra, what else would you like to talk about? We're kind of doing like a little salad here, a little smorgasbord, a little fiesta, if you'd like, since I'm down here in Mexico to take that term. What else would you like to talk about? What are you working on currently?
Oh, well, let's continue with the Stanley Kubrick stuff because
Sure.
we got a little sidetracked there. But so as Jack is writing the same sentence over and over again, Wendy comes in, finds him, he freaks out on her and decides to like try and kill her, essentially is what's going on. He decides to do violence against her because she essentially found out that he's not writing a novel the entire time. He's just writing the same sentence over and over again. And we have proof of that with Sirhan and the RFK assassination. Okay? It's the exact same thing that Sirhan was doing before he killed RFK. If you look at his journal and at his notebook, okay, Sirhan is writing the same sentence over and over and over again, which is RFK must die, RFK must die, RFK must die, RFK must die. And then he kills RFK.
Wow.
Okay, so this is psychic driving. This is programming your subconscious to hurt or injure other people. This is what's going on within The Shining. He's being programmed to kill his family for an experiment that goes on up at the Overlook Hotel. And then you have the Lookout Hotel, which Stanley Kubrick lived in LA with his uncle for 3 to 4 years whenever he was growing up. He had to have known about Lookout Mountain Air Force Base on top of Laurel Canyon in LA at that time. Okay, so then Lookout Overlook Hotel, which is the hotel in The Shining. All these experiments are going on up at the military base, Lookout Mountain. There's an experiment going on up at the Overlook Hotel in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining to try and get Jack to kill and murder his family. Okay? And the operation has been going on for a really long time, and they can dose people with LSD. I mean, what's his name? The bartender, Lloyd. Okay, so Lloyd is the one that gives him the alcohol for the first time, and immediately after he drinks the alcohol, he goes up in the room 237, and then he sees the woman, the old woman, the very attractive woman that then turns into an elderly woman that was in the bathtub. Okay, and then after that scene, he goes back up to his apartment with Wendy, and he says, "I didn't see anything. I didn't see a goddamn thing." That's exactly what he said to Wendy. Okay, so Lloyd had to have dosed him with LSD. That's how he goes up in the room 237, hallucinates the woman that's in the bathroom. Okay, and then that's that's the trauma thing. And Danny has been traumatized from the very beginning. In the very opening of the movie, whenever the doctor comes to visit Danny and Wendy at their apartment in Boulder, the doctor asks Wendy, when did he start receiving these visions? Right? When did he start having these hallucinations? And she says that it started happening right after Jack abused Danny.
Whoa.
So Jack abused Danny, broke his arm, injured his arm whenever Danny was messing around with some of his papers. So then whenever he came home, he jerked Danny up by the arm and dislocated or broke his arm. That's a very traumatic event. That's something that is very traumatic that can happen to a child by his father, by his dad. And we just set up in the beginning of this conversation how trauma is the cause for all these programs, right? That's how they get you. That's how they unlock these psychic abilities within you, is through trauma. That's also how they control you, is through trauma, right? And now they just do that on a global scale now, like, 9/11, COVID. It's a mass.
Who do you think these people are, Ryder? Who do you think these people are, or are they even people?
I don't think
If
that
you had to take a guess.
It's not just one group of people. It has to be many groups of people all working together. I don't think that it's some kind of like secret group of 7 or secret group of 8, or that it can be blamed on one group of people or one country or anything like that. It's a large group of conspirators behind the scenes that's essentially calling the shots. And the way that they do that is with fakery, right? An event does not have to be real. It just has to be perceived that it's real.
Right.
If people believe it, that's what makes it real. That's what COVID was, right? That's what George Floyd was. That's what all the riots of 2020 was all about. It was perceived that it was real. It was Hollywood movie magic that got all those people out there to riot and destroy our cities and burn things down and throw bricks through buildings. There's Hollywood movie magic, okay? And they know that. They know that they no longer have, the event doesn't even, it can be real, but it doesn't have to be real. And then when you do Boston Marathon bombing stuff, like that whole thing was a giant freaking diversion, dude. Like the JFK Memorial Library actually got hit with a bomb, which was in the archives department. So the 2 bombs that were exploded at the Boston Marathon during the race was a diversion from what they were really trying to do, which was to blow up JFK Memorial Library. And no one talks about that. No one really even knows about that. But there was a 3rd bomb. You can look this up on Google. You can just type it into Google. The 3rd bomb that exploded at the Boston Marathon. There's very few articles on it. You might not even be able to really find any information on it now. They probably buried it almost.
Yeah, they scrub it. Yeah, they do that a lot.
But there was a 3rd bomb that went off, and that was at the JFK Memorial Library, dude, and it hit the archives department. So they were trying to obfuscate something that was at the JFK Memorial Library, trying to get rid of something there.
Something's
it's the best way to get rid of it. Let's just freaking blow it up.
Yeah, dude, you're punching so many levels of. So you can say something like George Floyd, although most likely real that the person did pass, but at the same time, it's meant to do that to have a certain effect. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, it's either that or the entire thing wasn't even real. It's either or it was like a completely staged event that I mean, I don't really want to get into because it's like a really weird thing.
Yeah.
The police didn't even have legitimate badges on. Like the 2 people that were with what's the main guy's name? Eric Chauvin.
Yeah, Eric Chauvin.
The 2 other people that were with him didn't even have badge number. They didn't even have badges on them, at all. So it's and there was only 2 people on the street that was supposedly filming this. It's very easy to create a Hollywood version of this. And not only that, there's been several people that said that the casket was way shorter than how tall he was. There's just so many inconsistencies that really make it difficult to believe that is actually what happened, and that it's not some sort of 100% movie magic, filmed on a set or on a stage or filmed years before and then is just thrown out to the public when it's needed. Okay?
Oh yeah, dude. I believe I mean, it's all been true, Operation Northwoods, the Gulf of Tonkin, which everyone knows. Why wouldn't they do that? It's the possibility exists. Why not be open to it? Because what happens is they do these things. It hits people on an emotional level. You know what I mean? Well, they use racism, they use sexism, they use whatever they need to have a desired effect. And in 2020, it was an absolute shit show. I mean, from whatever happened with the Trump thing, you still can't say that. Whatever that was, and with everything, it was just one thing after another after another. You weren't allowed to go to church, you weren't allowed to go to small mom and pop stores, but you were allowed to go out in the streets and protest this. And no one just batted an eye. Like, we have to stand up to this. And I think you should be open in your mind to all those possibilities. Now, whether it's true or not, I think that's for the person to actually go in and look and, quote unquote, I hate the term, do your research. Do your research, folks. So we kind of went through the
that's subverted, right? That, like, things that are real, people think that are fake, and things that are fake, people think are real. And that's the main problem with a lot of this stuff, is that there's so much confusion, right? Because if you confuse people on what it is that they're supposed to believe, then they won't know what to believe. So when they don't know what to believe, you can make them believe whatever you want.
Right.
Okay, that's almost word for word Yuri Bezmenov's quotes from the KGB defector in 1984.
Right. And if you also, the thing is too, is like when you put out something like that, we're just, George Floyd, I hate to keep hitting the nail on the head there, but what happens is that you get people to believe what they want to believe. Then you control the algorithms, and then you grab them and you put them in this corner, you put them in this corner, which creates tension. And they want you then to hate the other person for thinking something other than the main narrative, which creates a lot of anger towards the other people. Like, I'm not allowed to think about this. You're not allowed to say this. This is the way it is. So it has a cascading effect that they want, that they truly want.
That's right. And that's how it works. That's the 4 steps to subvert an entire country and subvert an entire population, right? You just sow enough doubt and enough confusion on any kinds of topics, and then people will just run with whatever it is that they want to run with, regardless if it's actually real or not. I mean, and that's the main crux of this entire situation, and the situation that we find ourselves into this very day, right? And people will say, oh, well, every instance has its own set of circumstances and should be examined individually. Okay.
Right.
Just because one thing has been faked, and you can almost prove that it's been faked by looking into it, doesn't mean that everything else is fake. Every individual thing that happens needs to be scrutinized just as well as anything else. Okay. It has to be its own individual investigation on each thing that happens, because everything is going to be different. Circumstances are different with everything. Okay. But we've gotten to this point where within the community and within the conspiracy culture is like, well, if they uncover one thing that's dubious and doesn't seem like that it's real, that automatically means that nothing is real, and everything that happens from here on forward is scripted. It's a part of a play. It's a part of a stage. They act like things don't naturally happen anymore, right?
Right.
And it's gotten this into this very dangerous outlook on life in general. Okay, where people think that that's just 100% fake. I don't believe any of that. I don't believe that really happened. And that's a very dangerous mindset to be in, because it doesn't give you the ability to look at things critically, okay, or objectively, right? You're just going along with your feelings or with your instincts, and that's not always the best way to do it. You need factual information supporting your arguments.
Yeah. So before I get you up out of here, we have a couple minutes to go. first of all, what is it that you're working on that's coming up in the future? What's coming down the pipe? What can we expect from you? What are you looking into? And at the same time, maybe you can leave on maybe if possible, we can leave on a positive. You're kind of hinting at it, that we should be objective. We should look at everything on its own merits, and we should have some type of factual things behind it. What can you say, like, for all the craziness that's happening in the world right now? What is the shining light? What can we look to for guidance or comfort or for, how would you say it, mental fortitude in moving forward?
I'm working on a new film right now. I'm in the writing phases. It's going to be on remote viewing and the psychic spy program that I was mentioning in the beginning of this video. I'm hoping to shoot here in a couple of months, and getting all of that together is going to be really great. I'm really looking forward to it. I would say that I actually am very excited about the future, because despite everything that I said, I do believe that people are realizing that things are not what we've been led and like told to believe. But at the same time, like, we just have to be critical and like use common sense, and and there's nothing wrong with theorizing. Like, theorize all that you want, right? But presenting something as truth when there's nothing but theories that are backing it, without saying this is a theory, is duping people.
All right.
I don't have anything against anybody that wants to. They can say whatever they want to say. Okay, it does not matter to me. It does not affect me at all. But what does affect real research and people that are going after something that there's actual tangible evidence for is people constantly making it seem like that their theories and their speculations are fact. Okay, they take what they're saying, they present it as if it's real. Okay, and I always try and make a distinction between the things that I say so that people know. Okay, if I'm speaking on something that is theory or speculation, I'll do my best to say that this is theory, this is speculation.
Yes.
Okay? So then the audience knows, and then they can make an informed decision. But just saying a bunch of off the wall, random garbage without saying that this is theory and speculation, you're fooling people. You're fooling people because you don't have any evidence or facts to support what it is that you're saying. It's just nothing but theory and speculation. So when you're listening to people, or if you're a host or or I'll even say this is a philosophical conversation that I'm about to have. So then the audience knows, hey, this entire thing is like a theology, philosophical conversation. This doesn't have to be rooted in, factual information. I'm just having like a really chill conversation with one of my friends or someone that I find is really interesting about our thoughts and our ideas about what could be going on, right?
Right.
Like you kind of have to make that distinction, because if you don't, then you're inadvertently selling people a lie. And that's just my personal opinion. And people can do whatever they want. People can say, again, I'm not trying to shut anybody up or keep anybody from saying whatever it is that they want, but they, in my eyes, they kind of have to make that distinction between factual information, theories, conspiracies, ideas, what's true, what's not true. Because if they don't, then they're inadvertently fooling people. But thanks for having me on, brother. Really appreciate it. And I think if everybody just stays, if everyone just stays true and is an honorable individual, uses common sense and critical thinking for the future, I think we're going to be okay.
That's great, dude. Thank you so very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And remember, guys, we are the eye and we are aware. Love you all.